Hi, I'm Greg Yulin with Reynolds & Reynolds, and this is Connected. Today I have an in-studio guest. Very excited to sit down with James Dieli. James is the warranty administrator at Beau, Townsend Ford, and our winner of the Automotive Amplifiers contest at our Amplify Summit this past summer. He won in our fixed operations category. So James, thanks so much for joining me today.
Happy to be here.
James, you have been at Beau Townsend for going on 8 years now, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what's your kind of journey been there? 8 years is a short amount of time and a long amount of time all at once, right? When you probably look back, it's like, man, that was just like that, but you've probably also done a lot. So maybe if you don't mind, we could just start with what your journey at the dealership has looked like.
So my family's been around the dealership for decades. I actually started handing out hot dogs on Saturdays in the hot dog stand out front, and just absorbing the dealership culture and the hospitality of our dealership and treating everybody like family back when I was a preteen, teenager, just helping out. And then I went to school, pursued some education, pursued a different career path outside of the dealership, and I was looking for an opportunity to kind of change my career path from the hospitality industry to automotive, going back home and helping my father out. My father actually had an injury, so I moved back I operated a food truck for a while, so
nice.
I moved back home to assist my father during his injury and his recovery, and it was at that point that I started working in Dayton, and then the hospitality industry, I found it was not for me and not where I wanted to end up with my career ending up. Having moved to like a management position, I worked with a bunch of great people in Dayton. Shout out to the Idea Collective, the starters of Sueño and Tender Mercy in downtown Dayton.
Yeah.
I worked with them on some projects. Found that the hospitality industry wasn't where I should end up. I contacted some old connections at the dealership, and I started working in special finance. I was pursuing special finance leads and learning about how automotive sales went and just interacting with clients. And then I got assigned to the service department in 2018. Just always being available for the management team who had been so gracious to my family with opportunities for advancement within the dealership world. We're a small dealership, 2 locations, a Nissan store, a Ford and Lincoln store, and we're a very tight-knit team and always helping them wherever we needed help, and we needed help in the service department. And I took that and ran with it, just from knowing very little about automotive service to now I have quite a breadth of knowledge over 8 years. I've put in a lot of time researching to get to where I am today as a warranty administrator, and just whatever it takes to make sure that our clients are given the highest standard of care.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it sounds like if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, you have something to fall back. I mean, from hot dogs to a food truck. I mean, you got something going there in the food industry, probably, if you ever need it, right?
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic, and I feel like for so many of us, it's a familiar story, right? Not exactly the same, but just like you get into this business and it just becomes a part of who you are, and it sounds like for you it was part of who you are from a very young age.
Yeah, and there's a lot of overlap with hospitality and automotive service. And I try to take that mindset of caring for people and caring for their experience to what we do every single day. Although I do a lot of the back-end work of the systems and warranty claims processing, I'm really passionate about how our customers' perception is of the interaction. And as we all know, we have a comparison mindset of retail experience.
Right.
And not only are we compare dealer to dealer, brand to brand, but even retail experience to retail experience. And that's part of why I've pursued a sort of shift in the process, which brought me to Amplify to win the award, of adhering to this advance in the retail experience to be congruent with other retail experiences, so that the customer and is more comfortable with an interaction, and we treat our clients as guests, not so much as transactional. It's a safety net of
Sure.
transportation service and transportation need, and that net should be unbreakable. They should know that whenever they're calling us, their issues, whatever they may be, just from regular maintenance to the most severe repair, we have it handled, and it's going to be routine and regular. Something a mentor taught me a long time ago is that it's not about doing extraordinary things regularly, but doing regular things extraordinarily. And providing that level of comfort and calm and consistency to every interaction, no matter the variables of it, is something that I wanted to bring to the service experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's use that as a jumping off point. When you came to Amplify and you presented, you talked about going paperless in service, right? And a lot of people view that in a lot of different ways. And, I think at its core, there's plenty of tentacles to it, but at its core, you have two pieces to that puzzle, right? You have the customer-facing piece, which you talked about, the retail experience, and then you have the operational piece. So maybe we could start with the customer-facing piece. And for you at Beau, Townsend Ford, what was that like? What was it like before you went down this journey? And then, what did you change? And what was it like after? Because, you have plenty of retail experiences where, I was joking, actually, for Halloween this year, we had a customer in here, and was meeting with them in the morning, and the person who's bringing them in said, well, you're not like dressing up or anything for Halloween. I said, well, yeah, I'm going to go as like a CVS receipt, but I'm going to make it a car contract, 39 feet of paper.
Yeah.
And, it's funny to think about, but you think about that in service too, and how many pieces of paper we actually generate for that customer, right? You have them sign the estimate, you have them sign the repair order, you have them sign everything, right? So I guess maybe start there and just talk about what you guys were facing from a customer experience perspective when it comes to paper, and what you changed and where you landed.
So with a customer experience, there's the frictionless experience that we're kind of going for. And then there's a bunch of friction that's brought in by having these paper procedures that are redundant. Moving from a clipboard to a tablet, I think, is as simply as I can explain that. There's a lot that goes into that. From a paper pre-write to a pre-write that is done beforehand within Ignite and then brought up on Service Touch, and then getting Service Touch to function from the time the client is greeted until the time the client leaves, and all of that being laid up for the greeter advisor, and any advisor being able to step in and understand what the client's needs are as the advisor whose primary responsibility is to get it through the shop. Because as we all know, that advisor's attention may not be able to be given to that client in the drive, but another advisor of the team should be able to function exactly as that advisor would and give the same level of care and provide that same point of contact, and leading into that consistency. Where we were at before of just checking in vehicles with paper pre-writes, handing off the paper pre-write for RO generation, RO generated, now it's printed, presented to the client to give their signature for authorization to work on it, the estimate written into the estimate field, all of that. And then that paper repair order has to go into the shop.
Right.
And that's where you get into the back of the house stuff. But all of that it's not really a retail experience that's similar to anything.
Yeah.
That coming into it in 2018 and seeing that, I was confused about the process of handing off from porter, greeter to advisor to do pre-write, to get them to sign pre-write, to get the estimate. All of that seemed so out of place in 2018. Where else in a retail environment are we are we meant to sign all of these documents, have this handwritten thing, this printed document with all of this information and signed again? Where is the tool to keep all of that that's necessary and it's needed? Where is that to save it and to not have that piece of paper, and to have the advisor focused on the client and not focused on where's this paper, all right, staple this, sign this, file this, and write on my route sheet. Have them interacting with the client. We're in a people business. We're in this automotive service department. It's not a car business. It's taking care of people, and the car for the client ceases. It's only a car when it ceases to work.
Right.
Every day they get in the car, they turn the key, they go about their business. It's when they turn the key and nothing happens that now it's a car, now it's a problem. And then if you bring it in with that problem, and now you're faced with, okay, this is complicated. This is something that I'm not familiar with. This is foreign to me. You set them up in a situation of discomfort, but we try to make it as comfortable as possible. You try to give them rental vehicles, but you're shuffling through these pieces of paper. Just if we have it all on the tablet, and it's what you deal with your phone, and ordering make it as easy as ordering a set of headphones from your favorite online retailer, and when you get down to it, you can pretty much buy a house online. So
yeah.
Why not be able to service a vehicle through a tablet? And people are much, I think, more accustomed to that style of transaction rather than shuffling through all those pieces of paper. And then furthermore, if you want to get into like some procedural stuff of the front of the house, is what happens if we misfile that?
Mm-hmm.
With it being digital, it's there forever. And we know the power of the back end of Reynolds and the time stamping and the security of everything that's happening in the back of that. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
It's totally secure. So yeah. I wanted to lean into that and lean into that strength of let's just have it available and not rely on it as a piece of paper. It started with getting that paper repair order off of being handed off.
Yeah.
I felt so much tension, even when I started in the department just answering phones. I felt so much tension of where's the repair order? Where's the hard copy? Where's the hard copy? I heard it every day. Where's the hard copy? And as I learned more about it, I found that the hard copy is in the computer. It's in the computer.
Right.
Why are we chasing around this piece of paper? Could we all just agree to do it in the computer? And at first, no. there's a bit of resistance to that.
Why is that? Like what is it about that mindset shift from I got to have this piece of paper, right, to know what I'm supposed to do or who gets it next or where it goes, or what is it that makes it such a big leap to go to? So I'm a technician, as an example, right? And I have either I share a PC or I have a PC in my bay, and I log in to get my next vehicle, and it shows me the RO and it shows me the vehicle. I go get it, or somebody brings it to me. I start working. Like, what is it that's such a big gap between that and okay, here's my next vehicle, and this is what needs done, versus seeing it on a screen? Because to your point, it's the same information. It's served up to me faster if I don't have to leave my bay. I'm getting the right work for me that is going to maximize my output throughout the day. So I don't know, in your experience, what is that gap and why is it so big?
And the PII is secure. So there's a security aspect to it. All the time that you've spent as technician is logged. I think from people that I've talked to, I might not be the best person to answer this, having made the transition. I think that a lot of the hang up is comfort.
Yeah.
It's a big shift.
Mm-hmm.
The paper has been a part of the industry since we've been working on the car.
Yeah.
So moving to the digital platform, it's a lot for somebody. And with the situation with technicians right now, it's no secret that the technician workforce is overall aging.
Sure.
And we want to keep those technicians who are more experienced comfortable so that they stay working on cars.
Yeah.
The shift that we made and the way that we helped our technicians understand that this is going to help them is a lot of the points that you made. Is it's going to increase your overall output because you're not going to have to do that. Also, some feedback that I always got from technicians, and I still get to this day, and I don't think it will ever stop, is we have to do too much administrative work. We have to do too much clerical work. Well, let's take some of that out. You don't have to follow this repair order around. I'm not going to ask you where this repair order is. You don't have to bring it to me when you're done. All you have to do is mark the job line as finished, and it's going to go to your booker to flag it.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that clerical work. So you take out those points of contention. Also, when you talk about warranty time, and we're a dealer in Dayton, Ohio, it's a smaller market, but we also serve rural vehicles, a lot of commercial vehicles, and these vehicles are upfitted. And Ford Motor Company wants to support the upfitted vehicles. We have to log the time for the upfitted vehicles, the non-standard modifications. Some F650s, F750s, they don't have operations for something as standard as the removal and installation of a transmission. They just don't have the operation for it because the builds are so different.
Right.
And you have to just clock that actual time. So as an agreement for the technicians to move to a digital work order and get that paper work order out of the shop, if you're clocking in and out time matches you're clocking in and out time on our time clock, I am going to advocate for you as warranty administrator for the entirety of your time. And that was a big boost to the technician buy-in.
Yeah.
You have to have the technician buy-in, you have to have the advisor buy-in, and it all has to come in incremental steps. You have to meet benchmarks, as I call them. And one of those first benchmarks is getting that paper repair order out of the shop. And to do that, you have to make the technicians comfortable. And you do have to concede some certain administrative tasks to, how about if you don't get that paper repair order and you do your estimates digitally, you no longer have to walk up to the desk at all during the busy time and stand behind the advisor waiting for them to be done with the client to be able to deliver your estimate or know if you have an answer on whether or not work sold. It's allowed us to get really ahead of our work with dispatching. Instead of having a queue of stacked work on a route sheet of advisor. I need 1, 2, and 3 done. These next ones, but actually 4 just came in, and I need 4 before those 3. We've used the dispatching system to have the advisors organize that, but also have technician input, because the technicians, having sold the jobs and understanding the sequence in which they could go, can now collaborate with the advisor through the digital communication platform of, maybe if we don't do this one today, I could get these 3 done. What do you think about that? And opening that collaborative line of communication helped with advisor buy-in. And being just ahead of that curve and knowing when we've promised things out, what we've sold, and then when it's going to be done. There's a feature that works within Reynolds and Reynolds of the estimated completion time. But if the data in the system is not there to give an estimated completion time readout that's correct or at least close there too, it's not useful. Our advisors rely on that every day to see whether or not the client's vehicles are even possibly able to be done with the technician that's there. So moving from this reactionary position of getting work dispatched in the moment versus figuring out what your workload's going to be for the entire day, the entire next 2 days, has allowed us to use our shop capacity to know, those 3 jobs that we had yesterday were 3 smaller jobs. We can take some more in on the fly and make some promises for some faster completion times. One of my goals with the timing of repair orders was that we're never just saying, well, we'll give you a call.
Yeah.
What kind of retail service experience is that? The hospitality industry in a restaurant stand, you put in your order of food. It's gonna come out. It'll be 20 minutes. It'll be something expected, and then if something your server is going to tell you that something came up.
I just had an experience a few weeks ago. Took my daughter to the doctor. And so this was kind of like a follow-up appointment. She had an ear infection, and so we went for one, got some medicine, whatever. Coming back for the second one, they were going to do a hearing test and just look a little more at her ears. So this was a follow-up appointment, and we get there, and of course we waited for 35 minutes after when the appointment was set for, right? Because that's a great customer experience. But so we're waiting, and then so finally we get to go in, and like everybody else, we're all busy, right? So had to kind of get out of something to get there, and then we had something right after. So it's just, it's a crammed schedule like everybody's is.
Yeah.
But anyhow, we get there, we wait 35 minutes, we get into the room, and so the nurse comes in and kind of does their questions they have to do, right, the pre-write.
Mm-hmm.
And then doctor comes in, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, but our technician who administers the hearing test isn't here today. So I'll take a look. Yeah, everything looks like it healed up, but we'll have to reschedule you again for a hearing test. Mm. And it's just like, okay, that person wasn't there the whole day, right? That would be like, I have an appointment in your service drive, right? And there's one person that can do that job, and I bring it in, and I get there, and I wait to talk to somebody, and then you come out and you greet me, and you say, oh, by the way, they're not here today. Like, that doesn't work, right? So it's a similar example that you're kind of describing, where you just have to know what's in the shop, what's available, and who's available.
Yeah, and you have to meet the clients on their terms.
Right.
That's something that I've noticed early on, and that we've corrected. Instead of the clients bringing a vehicle in and we'll get to it, we try to make that as frictionless as possible by giving them, I will contact you back no later than 2 p.m. today. Our advisors are trained to update their clients at 10 a.m. and 2. And we use the promise time feature within Reynolds & Reynolds to issue a promise time. And if the estimated completion time is going to go over that promise time, it now shows as a Mayday. And we use the shop view to sort our Maydays, and you're not going to be able to meet your promise time. You're going to have that difficult conversation. There's some difficult conversations in the service department. Everything is not always hunky-dory in the service department. You have to have difficult conversations. You have to be prepared for those difficult conversations. It's a matter of getting, like you said, with the technician who's not there, it's a matter of getting that information to the client as soon as possible and broaching the subject rather than leaving the client in the lurch and waiting for them to call back. And now you're being reactionary. In hospitality, it's setting the table. It's making sure that the silverware is placed. It's making sure the plate is there. It's making sure that no order for a table as large of a party comes out 6 minutes apart. And we have a thing in hospitality of timing. If anything takes longer than 6 minutes, it's taken forever.
Yeah.
And the same thing in automotive service. If a client isn't interacted with for 6 minutes, it's forever.
Yeah.
It might as well be forever. And we all deal with surveys, and you can look at camera footage and see this. Someone says, I wasn't greeted, it took forever. It's like it took 5 minutes, but that 5 minutes is so important. So being present for that client, as we know that there's an issue, to bring them into the fold of what our plan is to resolve it. The predictive nature of the system when it's functioning without paper is tremendous. While it's on paper, you're only as good as your paper route sheet, and you're only as good as your memory.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, I don't care. I don't care how good you are. Nobody can remember everything. Nobody can remember to call back everybody. Nobody can remember everything that they said. If you just press some keystrokes in Reynolds, not only will you remember it, the advisor next to you will remember it. Your management team has it.
Somebody in the BDC's got it.
Parts department. Everybody's communicating within this one living document. Whereas if it's all on paper, oh no, I wrote that estimate. Did you write that estimate? Wait, where is that estimate?
Yeah.
Can you write it again? And now you just lost 12 minutes of technician time. You do that once a month. It's hours of time that are lost. And part of why I was filing repair orders, and I wanted to get us off paper repair orders because I spent 2 afternoons looking for a paper repair order.
Yeah.
Fingering through all of our documents, just looking for a single repair order.
Did you find it?
I failed.
Yeah.
I failed for 2 days in a row, and I went home defeated both of those days, and I just asked myself, why did I spend that time doing that, and why don't we have that filed? It
probably was, and somebody else had to find it, a year earlier, and it didn't get back where it needed to be.
Yeah, that's another thing. Where's the chain of custody? When it's all saved, it's very easy to identify any breakdown in process. So we can address individuals as we see a procedural error.
Mm-hmm.
We can then find where our deficiencies are, address them as they're happening, rather than wait for the survey or wait for the phone call to their sales associate of I didn't have a great experience in service. We can figure that out way beforehand, and those client interactions become so much easier. I can sing the praises of it, but there's things untold that you can only experience of time saved for client care from not having to chase down a piece of paper through a shop that who knows how deep it is. Did it switch technicians? Did it stay in somebody's box? Did it fall behind a drawer?
Sure.
And yeah, I don't really want to talk about searching for repairers anymore. I don't have to do it. And I'm happy to say that our most senior technician who's worked with us for over 30 years has said removing the paper repair order is the best decision we ever made. And we have lost 0 repair orders since we stopped using them. And it's not inhibited us on any sort of requirements. There are things that we had to implement, such as signing on a tablet, the delivering of estimates through e-approval, and all of that being time-stamped, signature, digital signaturing of approved work. It's all there. Everything that you would need for any type of signature verification.
Right.
It's all stamped in Reynolds and Reynolds. It's just a matter of using it and knowing where it is. The shop and getting vehicles into the shop is something that I was responsible for in 2020 and 2021. So towards the end of the pandemic and the beginning of 2021, I was named dispatcher. And all of the paper repair orders came to me. So I had firsthand experience of doling out work.
Yeah.
And I understand technician specialties, work availability, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
With that experience of having dispatched work manually for 10 months, I used that to have a system within the Reynolds & Reynolds advanced service dispatching to get work to technicians. That happens automatically. Technicians merely press a keystroke and get their next job. If it's one that they don't like, that's not really a reason to not pull it in. There's nothing, there's no other job there. So something that I noticed is when I have a stack of work to dispatch like this,
Sure.
and I have it organized in the way that the advisors have communicated to me that they need it, and I hand out the next job, and they see the next repair order, and they groan because they got the one where they have to pull a dash and they would have rather reprogrammed something.
Yep.
That you just remove that point of contention altogether. It's just the next one that the advisor needs. It's the next one that is available for you to work on. That's not to say the technicians don't have agency in that. If there is an outcome that they think is more viable and better client care, they're totally able to communicate that to the advisor. Not only do the advisors have a shop view full of all of their repair orders, the technicians also have a shop view full of all of their repair orders. We disclose everything. Full transparent service department. They know everything that they have to work on. The advisor knows everything that they have to work on. I see as technician that maybe if we maneuver these this way, I could get more work done. Send that message to the advisor. The advisor has information that, well, actually, I prioritize this one higher because of X, Y, and Z.
Sure.
And they have that communication instead of, just do it, it's the next one.
Yeah.
Making it a collaborative effort. There's the time clocking aspect of putting the technician in working status and that all logging within the Reynolds system. And
that probably helps a lot from a warranty perspective too, right?
Tremendously.
Having the electronic timestamps on on and off jobs. I mean,
Huge.
it's got to be much cleaner when it comes to submitting warranty claims.
Huge. It's huge. I've submitted warranty claims from a manual time punch and to electronic timekeeping, and that's something that I identified very early that was going to be an advantage. First off, the system protects the company from being clocked on two jobs at once.
Yeah.
Doesn't allow a technician to be running time on two tickets. Can't. As a technician, you only have one mode of output, and that's the car that you're working on, and that's the vehicle that's in working status for that technician. If you go to another ticket and you try to go to work on it, it just doesn't work. It's not.
You got to put it on hold, and then you can.
Yeah, it's not possible. So it protects the company in that aspect, and with that, the time that's logged is exact, and issuing that to the manufacturer. And with the way that manufacturers are going, and having identified this with the advent of connected vehicle data, I got my wheels turning, and I'm thinking they're going to use this for all manner of data mining, and as they should, of when was the technician on that vehicle, when did they have the connection. And I'm sure Ford isn't the only manufacturer that has some issues with programming vehicles through service. We have significant time spent in recovering modules, reprogramming vehicles, that our digital timestamping in our system corresponds exactly to the workflow of what's happening. It's all well and good. That's exactly what happened. It's such a relief to have a team that has procedures that are so shored up that we just lay it all to bear, and it is what it is, and we present it to the manufacturer, and that is the best that we can do.
Right. So I want to ask you too, James, about buy-in, right? Because you implement something new, and I don't care what it is. I swear, anytime you implement something new, there's a level of distrust just because it's new, right? And people don't know, and what worked before it worked, and what you're asking them to do, they don't know if it's going to work. I think about in kind of a previous life, going from I worked in a parts store and going from paper catalogs, right, looking up parts that I trusted and I knew exactly where everything was. I knew which catalog to go to, and I could get to that page really quick and get the part number and grab it off the shelf and be done. To an electronic parts catalog, and I loved the electronic parts catalog. It was easy, it was quick, but I didn't trust it right away. I would still double check in the catalog, so it took some time for me to actually develop that trust. So I don't know, what was your experience with buy-in and trust in the service department? And maybe it was different for different people or different roles, but I can imagine that you had at least some level of skepticism kind of going in.
Yeah, absolutely. And exactly to what you said of the trust of something new. And I am big with show me.
Yeah.
And a lot of it was small changes and gentle pressure and persistence. And I don't think that we would be where we are today if it wasn't for everybody involved. It wasn't just me. I'm not like the paperless supreme. I don't work on the cars. I have been a service advisor, but I don't write up the cars. It was a full team effort, and seeing those results of I'm getting more time. My job as advisor is simpler.
Yeah.
That was a proof that we were on the right track. And it didn't come with unplugging the printer one day and we're not printing. We had so many small changes just to even figure out that it could work.
Sure.
A lot of things happening in the background that, were changes that were made and didn't really impact anybody, but it did impact the way that we checked in the client, for example, through the tablet. And just getting that to happen regularly when we were so comfortable with a paper pre-write was a monumental task. But you get a view from the top of our warranty claims are paying simpler. We have better clock time. We have full warranty stories. We have photographs that we're now taking, and all of it builds into a better system. It took a long time to meet these benchmarks, and I would be fibbing if I said that every time we maneuvered towards paperless, it was yes, that's how we're gonna do it. There were some areas where it's like, whoa, this is not where we need to step back and then reapproach it. And that's different for every operator, I would assume, because every operation is going to be different. And
every operation, you also have different people at every location, right?
Yeah.
Like your personnel, right? Your players on the field, they matter too.
Yeah.
And so how they operate, you have to take that into account as well.
Yeah, and the buy-in has to be from the top down. Our company being a family-owned dealership, we made the investment in advanced service, and the general manager making that investment said he said a few things to me, and one of the things that he said to me was, if you see anything in the computer system that could be better, for God's sake, James, make it better. Yeah. He's also said to us that if we're going to make this investment, we're going to use it. So it has to come from the top. You can't just step into advanced service, buy it, and okay, now figure out how to use it. With that gentle pressure of these small changes of, well, now we're moving off of paper pre-write to a digital pre-write. Now we're going to take the repair order off of the toolbox. We'll still have it in the shop, and you can look at it, and you have to now issue your estimates digitally, and there's a chain of custody with the estimates to the parts department. And we eliminated a line in the parts department.
Yeah.
When I got into industry, and even when I was or just around the dealership, there was always a line out the door of the parts department. I was like, what's going on in there?
It's a popular spot.
I now know what was going on in there, but it was like this congregation area, and you also have technician boxes by there too. So there's the line out the door in the parts department. Now it just becomes this this non-productive area, but everybody needs their parts, and parts department has to operate now just in reactionary time of what parts do you need, and they're running through now they can stage parts. Now they bring parts out to technicians because they're making digital requests for it. And the parts department seeing the advantage in that. They're like, okay, yeah, we like this. We're only going to do it like this. If you guys don't send us parts requests, we might not be grabbing you parts as easily. Granted, different personnel are going to do things differently. Do we still have technicians who are bringing a piece of paper into the parts department? I need these parts. Yeah, but the newer crop of technicians who only know the digital parts requests are trained that way, and they're doing the digital parts requests. It frees up that bandwidth for that technician to not have to stand in the line, the parts department to not have to grab those parts immediately, or is able to grab those parts immediately.
Right, yeah, because they don't have a queue. They've been able to work on the queue because it was sent to them before somebody's standing in front of them.
Yes, and working ahead and gaining that efficiency of and back to the hospitality industry in the kitchen of mise en place, of having everything in its place for whatever you're making before you make it, just makes everything happen much easier.
Yeah.
Then issuing that to an advisor knowing that their estimate is what it is, and communicating confidently that it's not around $500. It's $559.32. That's what it's going to cost, and issuing that to the client as a statement, writing that as in the estimate field in the repair order, and knowing that you said that, and then it's such a satisfying feeling having written service for a period of time of here's your recommended services, here's the total you already approved, saying that total of $559.32, and then writing that in the estimate field. Not all the parts are charged out, not all the labor's charged out yet, but when you go back into the ticket and you're ready to invoice and it all equal, and you're just like, yes, it feels like it just feels like winning. And knowing that confidently moving forward, you can do a lot more because you don't have to scratch your head of what did I say? Yeah. What was that? Did I write it down on the paper repair order? Yeah. Well, I've typed it into Reynolds. And that gets me to SPG. And SPG is an incredibly powerful tool, the service price guide for our manufacturer, updated really regularly. Our parts department uses it. All of our operations are auto mapped to some type of SPG backing. So what we do is even our diagnosis operations, they have an SPG diagnosis behind the operation. If the technician needs something else, creating a pending, they build it from the SPG catalog. They then send it to the parts department, who adds the parts, sends it to the advisor. Advisor verifies everything, cross-references the SPG, make sure that labor is correct, make sure that parts is correct, make sure that we're issuing a correct statement throughout, and then that's backed by an operation code that's auto-mapped. Having the auto-map feature for the technicians was huge. Mapping jobs, even if I go to some of our guys who've been working with SPG for years and I say, hey, will you map out 4 or 5, they're scratching their head, but they know how to do it. But actually getting manual mapping to an operation code, I feel like that's, from my experience and our team, it's I won't say a step too far, but it is a step too far for some. You don't have auto mapping available. You have this open SPG, and it's just like hanging out in SPG. How do you communicate it to the parts department? How do you communicate it to the service advisor? Does it just sit in SPG? So taking those SPG operations, those common SPG operations, having an auto map to them where the technician can just hit auto map, done. Saves time, makes everything more clear, concise, and there was a lot of prep work that went into that. Another thing that SPG has is the maintenance menu, and having that function as the manufacturer's recommendation allows us to not only issue those recommendations on our online service scheduler, but issue those recommendations in the service lane and then revisit those recommendations, and it all be congruent and consistent. You're not going to see something different on our website than you get told in the service drive, then advisor A tells you, then advisor B tells you. All of our recommendations completely consistent and in line with manufacturers' recommendations for the time-based maintenance intervals. All of that congruency, back to client care, builds trust.
Yeah.
And being in the people business, if we are the trusted outlet, it's a frictionless process. You know what to expect. You're going to keep coming back.
Yeah.
And we want to keep cultivating our client base. Everybody wants to keep cultivating their client base. And I noticed throughout my 8 years in the service department, and coming from hospitality and identifying when we have a difficult client issue, it's when people get surprised, when they're surprised about anything, price, when they're surprised about timing, when they're surprised because this interaction, it was a little different than what I'm used to. They're surprised. They had to wait a little longer.
Mm-hmm.
Not having a blind handoff of getting the person to our shuttle driver, keeping the client in our care that entire time, and we never hit that 6 minutes where they don't know. Issuing constant status updates. Through the e-approval system.
Mm-hmm.
Having the client have that link to be able to view their online service documents, to see that their vehicle's being worked on, and having that transparency it's huge. You talk about a pizza delivery experience where you can see the pizza from when you order it to when it gets to your house.
Right.
That was one of the first things I wrote down in my notebook. I recently revisited the notebook that I had where I took all of my notes of like, how can this be better? Coming from hospitality consulting. And I was like, why isn't there a Domino's delivery tracker for servicing your car? I now know why there wasn't a Domino's, but it's available. It can happen. It's about having the procedures in place and executing to meet the client's expectations and setting that table of here's how it is, here's how it's going to be. I will contact you no later than this. And just being transparent. I have a couple of vehicles that we're going to be working on, and we're going to be figuring out what's going on with your vehicle before the end of the day. If we can get it done in the end of the day, we'll certainly get it done. And if we have to carry it over, we'll figure out something, and we'll get there. But not just we'll call you.
Right.
It's communication, and it's taking care of people.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, James, this has been a really fun conversation, kind of going all different angles. Covered a lot. I appreciate you being so open and sharing and everything you're doing, certainly at the store, but also just sharing with the industry of being here with me and joining us at Amplify. And I've seen you, in Automotive news articles. So you're getting the word out and trying to help everybody, which is really appreciated. So thank you very much. James, anything we haven't talked about today that you want to? Any questions I didn't ask that I should?
Sure. If anybody was considering going to Amplify, it was an excellent experience. If you were on the fence about it, you should 100% go. The amount of knowledge in that room and the ideas that were talked about, the attendees, the vendors, everybody sharing experience was inspiring. And if you're looking for a team building exercise, Amplify was by far a highlight of my year, and I would be very happy to attend again. I highly recommend it. There's not really much else to talk about. I have a LinkedIn profile. Anybody can look me up. I'm happy to talk about Paperless Automotive Service and talk about some more specifics. And if anybody has any struggles or specific objections that they've received, I love to hear them.
Yeah.
Every time we bring in a new team member and focusing on like the next step of what's coming next with Reynolds and fixed operations, we want to be able to plug in any type of employee into like a client-facing role and making the product very easy to use, and that transition happening seamlessly. I tell people when they come on, just go as far as you want to with Ignite. If you break it, come get me. That's when I learn.
Yeah.
So that's what I tell people. If you have some issue, I would be happy to share my experience with whoever would be willing to hear about automotive service in a paperless environment.
Yeah, no, that's great. Definitely appreciate it. And I really do appreciate you joining me here today in person. It's always fun when I get to sit across from somebody. And we'll have details for Amplify coming out soon. So James Dieli, Warranty Administrator at Beau, Townsend, Ford, Lincoln. Thank you very much. And we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, that was a fun conversation with James Dieli of Beau, Townsend, Ford, Lincoln. One thing James didn't mention that we were talking about after we stopped recording was something he's doing with retail reimbursement for warranty work. And he's actually starting a consulting company at the start of the new year called Autonomical Solutions. So if you're interested in learning more about that, check him out. You can connect with him on LinkedIn. But anyhow, I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Before we hop off, don't forget you can watch or listen to all episodes of Connected on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify podcasts. And make sure to hit subscribe so you're notified every other week when new episodes are released. We'll see you in 2 weeks.